Okay, hello again to our MPARR channel. And today we will talk about the new Power BI template, related to access review, access denied, or access granted over protected document. But to understand a little more how works this, because we need to understand some concept, I will try to explain all of that. We need to go to the MPARR page. To go to the MPARR page, we can go through the https two dot slash aka.ms MPARR GitHub. You can see here, or if you use almost any kind of search engine, you can look in only for MPARR and you will easily find all the information about Microsoft Purview Advanced Reach Report. Today, to talk about the access review, access denied, or access granted, the first thing that we need to do is understand the data timeline in the audit logs. What happened? When you enable a tenant for the first time, normally one of the first steps is enable the audit logs. After you enable the audit logs, all the information is start collecting, and you can access to that information that normally is stored in a kind of hiding auditing storage through the Microsoft Purview audit or unified audit logs or activity explorer. In both cases, you have some limit every time that you run a query or in the same web page, every time that you try to export data, you have some limits that are sometimes are too small for our environment. The other option is use the Office 365 Management API that doesn't have any kind of limit, but only permit to request the past 7 days. In the case of the unified audit logs, depend of your level of licensing, you can request the last 6 months or the last year. This is after the new change related to unified audit logs, or an activity explorer, you can only see the last 30 days. After you enable the MPARR collector, we start collecting all the information, and the information is sent uh, to our workspace in Logs Analytics, and we can consume the data through Power BI or Microsoft Sentinel. The information in Logs Analytics can be stored for 2 years, or there is a way to extend inclusive for 7 years. This is one of the most important because here there is a lot of information that can be lost. If you are a E3, you can only request the past 6 months. If you are E5, you can request through the unified audit logs only the past year. But if you enable your tenant, your Microsoft 365 tenant, maybe 3, 4, or 5 years ago, all the data past more than 1 year was lost. We need to understand now that information to understand how we can build the report. In the same GitHub page, I created this another page to try to explain a little more how we can build this report. In this case, what's happened? Every time that someone protect a document using sensitivity labels or custom permissions, encrypt only, the user requests information to the Azure Right Management Service Certificate Digital Signature template and generate logs for those activities and generate logs in the Microsoft 365 audit logs. Then the document is protected and a content ID is added to the file when we are using protection. That a document travel protect no matter if you're sending in an email or in a pen drive or sharing a cloud. The document is still and remain protected. That document is received for our recipient, our consume, and to consume the data, this user requests the permissions, requests the right to access to the document, what that user can do with the document. And again, all these activities are collected in the Azure RMS logs, not here on the Microsoft 365 audit. In that case, the script MPARR RMS data help us to collect that data. Normally, when we try to see what happened with a file, the common answer is execute the command get AP file status and request that content ID. With that content ID, we need to connect to the AP service. Let me connect. And execute the get AP service tracking log for this content ID. And let me add here, we will take the content ID. And in this case, I don't have any kind of return because no one was opening this file. But I have another document, get AP file path, another document. In this case, we have this value, and we can again execute get AP service tracking log, content ID, and the new ID for this one. And now we can see who was accessing to this file. In this case, my user, Mike Wazowski, my dummy account, was accessing to this file, and we have all the information related to that access. But do the action per each file is not possible. It's a very big challenge. What we can do with MPARR is finally execute this command, get AP service user log, that collect all the information related to user activities related to protection. And all that information is sent to the RMS data table. But when in that actions we found a content ID enabled, we run the command get AP service tracking log, and all the information is sent to the RMS data details. Happens, we were seeing that in some cases, the user doesn't share, but the document is protected, no one was accessing, but we have the content ID and we will have some information with some empty field. But if someone is accessing, we will collect all that information here. We can review, in this case, if we go to the logs, I'm in the workspace in logs analytics. Here, if I run to obtain the RMS data, you can see all the information related to the activities. And here you can see some of the activities, that is the request type column, who was accessing. And this is very important. You can collect inclusive the activities related to SharePoint, MDCA, Exchange Online, and other services running in the background that are reading your protected information. Here we have the content ID for those documents and what is happening in the background. Now, in the RMS data detail, we can find that same content ID and who is trying to access, if that access was successful or not, the right granted when the successful is true, who was asking, and the IP address. We have several information, but you can see in no one of these tables we have the file name. The file name is not available. We have the column, the attribute exists, but it's not populated. In that order of idea, using the information from the Microsoft 365 audit and the MPARR collector script, we can collect some information from the audit general table. In that case, we create a relationship between the RMS data details, RMS data, and audit general. With all of that, finally, we can build our template. What we need to do in that case, I will need my workspace ID. Let me move here. I will copy my workspace ID. I will go to the MPARR GitHub portal. And here on the MPARR template, information protection, you can find the new MPARR MIP Access overview. I will download this one. And let me go here. Okay, so for some reason this was not updated. Please refresh the page. I make the change. This is a .pbit extension. Now, from Power BI, let's open Power BI. We will import this template with the workspace ID. Let me close this one. File, import, Power BI template. This is the MIP Access overview. And now you can see this error. In some cases, I am using a new version of Power BI. This is common. The only thing that you need to is up to date your Power BI desktop in some cases, but accessing with your workspace ID, all the tables, all the report, all the functions are created. I will explain very quick all the structure for this. Let's wait until all of this is loaded. But again, I will go through all these steps. Remember, please visit the GitHub page, the date timeline. This is very important because we will see on the report that maybe some information will be returned empty because the activity related to create the file and protect the file occurred previously to have the MPARR collector running. This is very important to have in mind. Some activities are happening in this moment and you are not using the MPARR collector. And that information is collected here in these audit logs, but in the past. With that in mind, here we can see the report, and happens that for some document, we will not have the file name or the path because that file, that document was created on the past. But let's go here. Now we have the activities, if the activities are related to external or internal users. The granted access, true or false, in this case, access denied. Access by domain, external domains and internal domain accessing to our protected document. Information by business unit, when the information was last updated. The sensitivity labels apply over the document. Remember that you can use custom permissions, encrypt options, do not forward. There is other options to protect the data. In that case, some of the data is not showing here. Now, this is very important, the access behavior per day. This permits us to identify some anomalies, or maybe in some days, a lot of access denied. We can use the top external users, top internal users accessing to the data. You can see the data by date. You can filter, or you can see if someone was protecting the data and see who was trying to access and several other information. In all the cases, when you select, as an example, this one, you can do a right click, go through the drill through, detail information, and here we can see the files and the users that was accessing, labels apply, permissions granted. Remember that I select access granted as true on my chart previous to jump to here. For that reason, we are seeing only access granted. The other big deal, and you can say, okay, I am seeing the same name, but you are count 35 files. This is very common. You can see, let me go back to this point. If I take the information related to my first protected document, you can see the content ID. What's happened? If I open the file, my first protected document, and I change the label to another one, I will close this. The content ID change. For that reason, we can see the same name, but different count as different objects. That is because someone was changing the labels, moved to one to another, testing, and for that reason, that is the way that the information is shown, but we can see the different user access as well. This is in general this report. You can go now and download this report and start using. I will extend a little more to explain this specific Power BI template. Here is the structure of the data. We have the information about the MPARR collector supporting a script that use the Microsoft Graph API, in this case, the Microsoft Entra user, Microsoft Entra domains that are collected in our environment that permit to generate other kind of filters, other kind of report based on the domains, internal, external, and several other things. This one, the audit general, this is one of the most important and use this function to complete the data. In this case, we can see the query that I am using to obtain the information, separate the path from the file name, and several other information. You can use all of this to and check if you have any problem to access to the template. I will release another video explaining some common issues when you are importing the Power BI template. Remember, MPARR collector finally take all the information that is happening in your environment and creating the tables. But if for some reason you are not using protection or you are not using some specific capabilities, the tables are not created, and when we are calling the tables to create a report, that table doesn't exist, and that normally is the common issue, the common error when we are importing the tables. We have the information about labels because in all the cases, the information collect contain only the IDs of the sensitivity labels. For that reason, with this one, we can see the display name. And these are the queries used at the beginning. I transformed these queries to functions, the workspace ID used, and finally, the data collected from the Azure RMS API and the tables created with all the information. I hope this information can be helpful for you. Please let me know. The GitHub page is open. You can open issues, comment, feedback. Remember, follow us in our different social networks. You can follow us in LinkedIn, GitHub, or YouTube. All the cases, aka.ms/mpar.linkedin, mpar.youtube, mpar.github. Please give us a like if you're if you like our job, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see these videos and any other news related to MPARR. Thanks for follow us and subscribe to our channel. Have a good one.